Hi, you guys. Welcome to another episode of the Sexy Mystics. I'm Jen.
And I'm Jess.
And in this episode, we are going to be talking about something that Jess and I both had to have radical shifts on, come to an awareness of, and bust through in order to life and lifestyle that we desire and now live and are creating from this place. And so, anyway, what is that? And that is self love, unconditional self love. No matter what your circumstances are, no matter if they have not changed or not, unconditional self love, worthiness, wanted, enoughness, all of those things are the number one ingredient that you really, in order to create the life and lifestyle that you really desire and deserve to live. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So I'll let you kick it off, Jess.
Self-love. That is a deep and meaty topic. So I'm glad that Jen and I are taking the time to put an episode together. And we love that you're here. Thank you so much for being here. And we hope that you love and subscribe and follow and ask and know that we are here to support you on your journeys. We want you to have experience a life of self-expression, radical honesty, epically beautiful life, and making your desires reality. And that's absolutely 100% possible. But the key core part of it is, like Jen said, self-love. Everything starts from there. And the reality is that for many of us, we might not have gotten the love that we needed or wanted when we were younger, when we were little. It is absolutely impossible for every parent to give every single need and every single moment of love. I know so many that have tried their absolute darndest. It just is not humanly possible. But that's just part of the journey, right? That was meant by design to happen in our lives, to be on a journey throughout our life to come back to ourselves, to come back to a place of wholeness, and to understand that love, you're not going to, many of us go looking for love in all the wrong places, right? And all the wrong people. But at the end of the day, there's only two ways that we can really get the true love that we need. And the one, as adults, it's from ourselves, for ourselves, and from ourselves, and then from the divine source. Those are the two truly the ways that we can create unconditional love, self-love. And I have experienced many years of my life where I was seeking it from others. I was seeking it from my partners. And that's a tremendous burden, a tremendous responsibility to put on somebody that at the end of the day, it's no one's responsibility but your own to be able to love yourself. And that takes a journey. And Jen and I today, not sure what time of day this video is. We're going to share with you some tips and some ways to lead you back to yourself, because at the end of the day, that's truly where the beauty and the magic happen. Because if you can create anything for within yourself, then it doesn't matter the external circumstances, it does not matter the people that are in your life. You can create anything that you desire for yourself.
So true. And, one of the things that I was thinking about whenever you were talking is that a lot of times the people raising us are also lacking in their own self love, self confidence, enoughness, wantedness, all of these things. And so if they're lacking in it, how are they going to teach you? And so, and there's nothing, and this isn't about judgment. So, just know that when talking about how we're talking about, it's not about judgment. It's not about judgment of those that came before us. They did the best they could with the information and knowledge that they had. And so it's about honoring that and saying, okay, that was their experience, but I'm here for a different experience. And being able to step into your own awareness of, I'm going to embody my experience in this lifetime because these are the lessons and things that I need to learn and grow through in order to get where it is that I need to be as I evolve in this on this physical plane. And so, one of the things that for myself I had to come to was a place of radical self-love and enoughness and being wanted. So those were the three things that were a trigger for me in my life. And so everything was always out external to me. Everything I was trying to get something that nothing could give me that self-love, that enoughness. And so I had gone through my whole life drawing up these ideas and conclusions around certain things and going, well, if only I had more money, then I would be happy, and then I would be stable, then I would be certain, then I would be, yada, yada, yada. And all of I thought that my wholeness was going to come from my own success in business and in life in general. So I always pursued that. I always chased that. And it was like always like right out, just right outside of my reach, and it was this frustrating thing that was just always churning in my life, where it felt like it was just one step away, one more step and I'll have what I want. One more step and I'll be able to be happy. One more step and I'll be able to have that relationship that I want. One more step, all of these things. And really what I had to come to was rock bottom, which, sucks to go to that place, but sometimes you got to just be going to that place in order to really get what it is that you've got to get, so that you can step into your divine purpose. And that's what I do. In order for me to step into my divine purpose was to go to that place and understand that no matter how low I go, I'm still enough, I'm still wanted, I'm still amazing love. And then from that place, I was able to build and begin to create the life and lifestyle that I really want from a very settled place, because before I would always go straight to stress, and I would just stress out and want to control everything. It has to work out this way, and if it doesn't work out this way, apart. And so anyway, coming to those awarenesses and coming to that place of my back's against the wall and I'm staring at myself in the wall or in the mirror. And I'm like, if I don't transform this energy, then this stuff is going to keep getting more and more and more painful. And how many of you guys can relate to life getting so painful that it's like, I cannot do this another day? And I was to that point. I was like, I cannot live my life like this another minute. This is not working. I've done too much work to get to this place to stop and stay here. So what I had to do was just come to this place of radical, just total self-acceptance and surrender. And in that, I found so much beauty in being able to transcend the stuff. And, in last week's episode, we were talking about triggers. And we'll get a little bit more into triggers later on, but transcend my triggers, the stuff the issues in my tissues, as Dr. Phil, which is a doctor that both Jess and I work with, an energy healer, the issue in our tissues, really transcending that and coming to a place of wholeness. So.
Yeah, I'm just loved drinking in what you had to share, Jen. The surrender piece has been a huge one for me. I have been told by a couple of former partners, that I like to control things and I want things a certain way. And I think that ultimately came from needing a place of safety, having to feel safe. And the only way I could feel safe is if everything in my environment was the way I wanted it and how it turned out. And so it's been really beautiful in this year to really let go and let go and let go and let go and surrender and surrender. And there would be days where I would just be like, I surrender, surrendering it up, giving it up, whatever it was. And getting to that place of, like Jen said, loving myself and honoring myself and honoring, we spoke on the last episode about radical honesty. That's self-love. That is the epitome, that is the expression of self-love. To be able to communicate what we need, what we desire, what we want, what we don't want, that is self-love. And one of the great things that came up for me today in a meditation that I was doing, or exercise, is something that this embodiment of a queen, and to say that that our truth in the moment is our truth. And it's going to shift, it's going to change. We're going to get new insights, new people, new experiences, all these things, and that will shift the truth. But in this moment, this is my truth. And to not have to justify, explain, defend, or deny it, and just own it for what it is. that has been that to me, I'm chewing on. I'm going to be implementing that into my life, because so much of my life I've felt that I've had to explain the decisions I've made, that I've had to justify the desires that I've had, that I've had to defend why I want to go and do something, the changes that I made in my life. But what I've really gotten, what I'm understanding, is that when I choose to do something, and it's because I choose. That's it. I don't owe shit to anybody. Nobody. I can own that and say that this is who I am and this is what I choose. And that's it. Because up until this moment, there's no one I owe anything to. There's no one that's depending on me. It is literally my self expression. And there's such power in that. And I also feel that the more I do stand in that power and share, and coming from a place of just so grounded, um, grounded centeredness in myself, I actually anticipate the fewer questions and the fewer people asking to justify or explain or why. Why? Well, because I choose. And being okay with that, because I don't have to explain myself to anybody. That's what's coming through for me, and that's what I feel is real self-love. Because if I have to explain and justify, it's because I'm seeking approval and validation and acknowledgement and acceptance from others, and I don't. It's nice to have, but I don't need it. I don't need it. So
Yeah,
that's where I'm.
yeah. It's super empowering to be in a place of self-love because of that right there, what you were just sharing. Because when you're in that place of self-love, so here's my journey. So I started getting acne when I was 14 years old. And I suffered from acne all through 20s, 30s, now I'm in my 40s. And so I suffered from acne, and it defined how I saw myself. I would look in the mirror and I would want to like rip my skin off. It was so frustrating to me. And it defined my self-confidence and my level of ability to put myself out there. And so anyway, of coming to wholeness and self-love, it was really amazing because when I began to really accept myself, and I started to look at myself even with the acne, and I would just bless the acne. I'm like, well, you're here for a reason. I don't know really what that is, but you're here for a reason. Maybe it's to keep me humble. Maybe it's a release of toxins. I don't know. But when I came to that place of total self-love, even with my acne, that it transformed the acne. Like the acne went away. Like almost instantly. It just was like, what? That's all I had to do all these years was just accept myself for who I was, exactly as I was. Didn't matter what my skin looked like or, like whatever it was, just total self-acceptance. And there's so much power and freedom in that. And, one of the things that I've been experiencing is now that I'm putting myself out there more, doing Facebook Lives and doing YouTube and all of this stuff, I'm getting, a lot more feedback that's negative, and people with opinions. And used to, that would have, like, I would have stopped doing Facebook Lives. Like, it would have crushed me to get a negative opinion from someone. And, like, I had a lady reach out to me yesterday and say, because I did a Facebook Live with no makeup on, and my hair wasn't fixed. Like, I literally I got out of the shower yesterday and I just didn't fix my hair. And so, anyway, this lady was like, it'd probably help your business if you were a little bit more professional looking in your videos, and that if you didn't do them from your bed, and that if you did them this, and I was like thinking about that. And I'm like, used to, that would have crushed me. Like, that would have been so devastating to me. I would have stopped. I would have second guessed myself. I would have been like, oh my gosh, am I doing it wrong? Blah, blah, blah. I show up for Facebook Lives to give. And so here's the bottom line. I looked at my Facebook Lives and I looked at the ones that I gave the most, and I gave from sitting in my bed, and they have the most views because I didn't give a shit, like I wasn't there to put on makeup and to make it a production. It's not a fucking production. It's just showing up as I am, dropping the F-bomb. I don't normally do that on Facebook Live, but anyway, showing up as I am and just saying, like, this is me. and take it or leave it. Like either watch the Facebook Live or not. And so it's so empowering to come to this place of total radical self-love, because you can do that whenever you come to that place, because you don't care. It's like you understand other people are going to have opinions, and that's okay. Let them have their opinions, but it doesn't define you. It doesn't, it's like, it'd be like you go into the mirror and putting your makeup on the mirror and walking away as if it's on your face. That's not outside of you. It's all internal. It's all inside of you. And when you come to that place, you're so much more empowered, so much more strength in that, so much more real, so much more vulnerable. There's so much surrender in that. And surrender is actually a beautiful thing. Like one of the things that I struggled with, and I got the word surrender a few years ago. I got the word vulnerability and the word surrender over these last 4 years in my process of healing. And when I got the word surrender, I remember I was sitting on the porch. That I have to do. And so it's been a process of coming to that place of surrender. And surrender is not giving up. A lot of people think that surrender is giving up, and it's not. Surrender is working with the divine and understanding that there's a higher order and a higher calling. It's saying your will, not mine, and going and taking action and being willing. Willingness is a huge thing. And one of the things that I've been saying recently is that I'm willing to see this differently. I'm willing to learn the lesson that is here. And by doing that, that is a surrender, and it's just taking a step, but then you're also shown what it is that you need to be shown. If you are not in a place of surrender and the universe is trying to show you something, then there's this resistance in this fight. And as long as there's resistance, then you're not going to see the lesson. It's going to keep coming at you stronger and stronger and stronger. When you see the lesson, when you finally go, I'm willing to see this differently, and you really are willing to see this differently, then the universe is going to show it to you differently. That's when you get the lesson, and that's when you transcend and go to another level.
Yes. Mic drop. I don't know what else to say beyond that. Like, that's so true. Yeah, surrender. There was, what was the book called? Do you remember? It's called like The Surrender Experiment. That was a really beautiful book. Yeah, that was a really, really beautiful book. That he just kind of surrendered and followed and trusted, and really just had this really incredible life that's fascinating, and I love that. And to Jen's point about when we surrender, and also when we tune in into our intuition, things go much faster, much more beautifully. We gain more insight in things that we wouldn't have noticed before. And I had this really powerful moment in a plant ceremony that I did last weekend that we'll talk about in another episode. But I got that I just had a shift in it, just a mind shift. And all of a sudden, all these things that happened when I was growing up that I saw all of this time, I've reviewed it as painful, as traumatic, as challenging, as hurtful, as punishing. And then I was able to see it from a different perspective, and all of a sudden, all of it made sense. All of it made sense. And not only did all of it make sense, but I understood it was all in perfect order, and that there was love and beauty in that. And so that, I had this, Jenn mentioned in one of our first episodes about the spot on our backs that hurt, and that's our connection to our heart. And since that ceremony, since that insight, I can barely feel it, and that is just huge for me. And so much of that came from the pain that I had in my heart. And then once I was able to see it shift a different perspective, it changed everything. And now I have so much more love and gratitude and appreciation for my mother, and a much, much deeper understanding. And whether it's true or not, that's my truth, and that's what I choose to believe, is that through that perspective, through that prism, because like Jen said also in another episode, is that we have something that happens, and then we have all these, we create a filter, and then all these things happen that fall through that same filter and reinforces and reinforces and reinforces that belief. And then we get to this point where we're 30, in our 30s, in our 20s, in our 40s, and older, all ages, and we're like, I'm not loved, I'm not enough, I'm not wanted, I'm not good enough, whatever it is. And you can always trace it back. Truly, there is a way to trace it back to an episode when we were little kids. And as a little kid, we would think that. And as an adult now, we'd look at the situation and be like, oh, well, she just, she spilled some milk and her mom got upset, But in our minds at that time, when we spilt our milk and our mother got upset, in that moment, we decided that we weren't loved. So there's so much power in surrender, and that has been a really key component for my growth. And to Jen's point, surrendering to, like she said, your will, not mine. And and I still I still am loosening the control, like as I do my plant medicines and stuff, and it's like I can't let go. It's still in control, but I also understand that the more I am able to let go, gosh, the more incredible things that come in that I could not have planned. And that's the beauty and the power of having trust and faith for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's really honestly a gift in surrender. I think so many of us have seen it from maybe a negative perspective, possibly because of religion, because religion preaches surrender as because I grew up in religion. So religion preaches surrender as total abandonment of what you want and like following God, and then we're taught like following God is like these rules and regulations, and you fall into this line, and this is the path, and everyone takes this path, and there's only one path. And so I think that people have a negative connotation to surrender, where surrender is more than that. Surrender is no one is going to take the same path as to God. So even in religion, so they have one, every religion has their one path, but even inside of that, there are different beliefs, different ways of seeing it. There's different things within all of them. And so there's some truths to them and some not truths, because every religion is made up by man on some level. So when you're in this process of surrender and you're really trying to make it like, what is this about for me? It doesn't have to be like this giving up of this lifestyle, idealistic ideas that you have towards a life or about a life. So like for me, growing up in my family, money was always scarce. And so I always had these beliefs around money. And I was like, I have to like have this career that I have to make a lot of money, and I have to marry a lot of money in order for me to be okay, in order for me to be happy, and in order for me to be safe. Tony Robbins, he's somebody that I followed for many years, and I've gone through a lot of his programs. He talks about the 6 human needs. He talks about the need for certainty, the need for uncertainty, the need for love and connection, the need for significance, the need for growth, and the need for contribution. The first 4 needs are needs that we meet, and sometimes they serve our spirits and sometimes they don't. You all know the person that's super loud and that's super obnoxious, and you're like, why is this person like that? Well, they're seeking significance, and that's the only way that they know how to do it. And it's not empowering to them or anyone else around them, but it's serving a need that they have. And so anyway, we all have these needs. And so whenever you're in this process of meeting your needs, then surrender can look like something that's not going to meet the need. Surrender can look like it's going to take away from you, because we've been taught it's like a give up. But it's not a give up, it's a step into, it's an action. Actually, it's a process for us to go, like in the book Surrender Experiment, just for example, Michael Singer is the author of this book, and so he wanted to be a yogi and meditate all the time, and then he was guided to do this and guided to do that, and eventually, he makes this huge conglomerate of a company. It's one of the biggest companies. Like when you read the book, you'll know the company. Everyone knows the company that he built. Well, in the process of that, it was surrendering to the next step and saying, okay, I trust the next step and I'm going to take the next step and I'm willing to see it differently. I'm willing to grow through this. I'm willing to do this. Even though I'm unsure, even though this is not the path that I would put for myself, I'm willing to do it. That's really what surrender is. And there's an actual opening and beauty in that because there's an uncertainty to it because we don't know what's around the corner. We don't know. We aren't really the scripter of our own life. You know, we're all here as spirits having a human experience. And so we're really here like co-creating with this higher power all the time around what it is that we want. And that's constantly changing. And so whenever we come to this place of push, pull, and surrender, and I'm willing to see this differently, and I'm willing to explore this in a different way, then we get a different answer. We get a different life. When we come to that place, then we come to me, we come to a place of wholeness and self-love. So.
Yes, it is. I love that you brought up that point. It's absolutely true. And something that Jen mentioned, when we see someone, when we get triggered, that's actually a really good sign that there's something in us that we're not willing to see. So, to Jen's point, if we're around someone that's so obnoxious and they just talk about like they know everything and we get really triggered and annoyed by that, there's information in there, because when we're with people and we're not triggered, that's actually a really good sign that we've either healed, incorporated, or loved and accepted all parts of us. So one of the biggest things that I've been learning about self-love is that there's other elements of me that I've had a shame about, that I've felt guilty, felt bad about, have tried to hide, have loathed, have outright hated, and have really kind of kept in the dark. And a lot of my practices have been that I've been working through in my coaching program that I'm doing is allowing them to come to light. Not only allowing them to come to light, but to accept them, for who they are, what they are, these elements, these pieces that kept us going.
Yeah.
Served us on some level at some time, just might not be the time now. So finding a way to integrate, to find a loving piece within ourselves, to love that part that we maybe didn't like, of healing it, of it. And it's been a really, really beautiful process, because there's been these parts of me that I thought were so dark and so scary, and things that I'm really ashamed of, and they've actually been really, really beautiful. And even when I faced a conversation with the little girl in me, I totally expected something totally different than what showed up, and she was awesome and fun, and not only fun, but she was willing to give the keys back to the queen to take over and to handle everything. So but that's information. When you get triggered by someone, there's information there, and there's either a part of you that is that, and you haven't healed that or accepted that, or they're showing you something really just showing you something in you that would be healed, because you've seen or read about Buddhist monks and all those that have achieved enlightenment. They're not triggered, they're not bothered by things, because they've healed those. That people are reflections for us, and they have a treasure trove of treasures. Treasure trove of information to like show us, and wisdom and knowledge of what's there.
Yeah, it's true. Like going back to the reflection part of it, we draw in people that are reflecting, like I said earlier, the issues in our tissue. So the issues in our tissue being those things that are unhealed inside of us. So as long as they remain unhealed, we'll keep drawing in the triggers to push through and heal them. So I see a lot of people who, especially with women with men, You know, they complain a lot about relationship, and they complain a lot about the men showing up in their lives. Well, I hate to say it, but it really is a reflection of you as a woman. How are you showing up in your wholeness and your fullness? And what are you bringing out in the man and attracting? So here's the thing, we're all vibrational beings, we're vibrating at a different frequency, and the frequency that we are emitting is what's coming back to us in all forms, whether it be people, opportunities, things. All of those things, we're drawing them in with our aura and our frequency. So it's like if an amazing relationship is at 101.1 and your frequency is at 95.5 on the radio dial, then you have to raise your frequency. You have to change, you have to shift in order to get all the way over to 101.1. You're not going to, I mean, it's like a physical plane like this. So you're 95er, you're down here at 95, he's up here at 101. He's done the work, he's doing the work, he's committed to himself, he's fallen in love with himself. You're down here still beating yourself up over stuff. You're never going to pass each other. You're going to pass the guy that keeps triggering you, that keeps pushing the buttons. That's the narcissist. That is the guy that, you know, same guy, different body. That situation is going to keep coming until you go, okay, I'm willing to see this differently. That famous last words for me. I mean, I'm willing to see this differently. I'm willing to grow from this. Then what starts to show up is the seeing it differently. Then you begin to see things, yourself, the situation, the circumstances differently. And then when you do that, you come to a place of compassion. So I think that is such a huge place for all of us to get to, is that place of compassion. Because when you have compassion, then you can see the other person for their insecurities, for their flaws, for the things going on with them. You can either accept them in that to be a partner, or you cannot. You know, you can go, okay, I see and have compassion for this person, but I also have to go live my life and go on my journey, and this is not a match for me. So there's that component, but compassion is so important for us to get to, because it's our ability to really love and accept ourselves. Because when we love and accept ourselves, then we can love and accept other people. We can just bless them, you know? Like with the lady that was, you know, sending me that email today. That the energy from that email that I sensed coming through the email was not an energy of helping me. It was an energy of like, she was triggered by something I said or did, and she didn't like it. And so the energy that she was emitting through the email that I sensed was that energy of trigger. So because I've done the work on myself, I can recognize that and go, okay, that's where she's at, and that's okay. I'm going to continue to do what I'm going to continue to do because it's working for me. And if it wasn't working, then I would question it. I would go, okay, I'm going to take some advice here. I'm open to constructive criticism, but I'm also very intuitive, and I'm very into myself and in my own alignment. And so I can take that and go, okay, she's either triggered and that's her stuff coming up, or it is for me, and it is for me to look at. But I have compassion enough to see that, you know, I don't need to respond in kind. Like, I don't need to respond like she did to me. I don't need to come at her. I don't need to say anything. I just need to go, okay, I'll take it. And then that's her thing. That's her stuff. And hopefully she works through it. And that's really what all of this is all about, coming to that self-love so that you can love another.
Jen, you brought up so many beautiful points at one time, and I'm making a note to myself that I think we should do an episode on boundaries.
Yes, that's so good. Yeah.
And it, like, just all about boundaries.
Boundaries are huge, especially for women. Oh my gosh, I had to go through a whole boundaries because I was married to somebody that was like, I had no boundaries with him, and it was awful. So yeah.
Yeah, the brilliance of boundaries, and the challenges of that, being a former people pleaser and perfectionist, that having boundaries was what, you know, I don't want to upset or offend anybody. Boundaries are awesome. So yeah, we're gonna do a whole episode about that. But I wanted to touch on what Jen had mentioned about being in relationships. And Jen has been a really, truly loyal, incredible friend. And I have several that witnessed me going through a challenging relationship where we triggered a lot in each other. There was a lot that got triggered, a lot that came up. And really great guy. I'm a really great person, and both committed to doing what we could to grow and to make the other person happy, and what I believe we both were going through, where we were getting smaller and smaller to fit into this box of what we wanted in the partner. And for me, I saw myself getting smaller and smaller. I questioned my sanity on a daily basis. I had girlfriends that are like, what are you doing? And that was part of my journey. And it was so amazing to me because it taught me, someone who's so strong and so sure of herself, that it is very possible to get diminished, to give my power away. And it really reached a point where I did have to choose to love myself. And to Jen's point that he's a great person, I'm a great person, I could not love and accept him for who he was. I couldn't do it. I tried, I really did. I couldn't do it. It's a terrible thing to admit, or not, but that was honoring me to finally reach that point where I'm like, you are great with who you are, and you deserve someone who loves and accepts you exactly as you are. I'm not that person. And I'm so sorry, because I wish that I could be. But I wasn't in that space yet, because I needed to love myself more. And I needed to learn how to love myself. And so I did. And I am telling you that if you are in a situation like that, choose yourself, because I did. And it was like I've been building this beautiful domino design this whole time, had no idea. And I was like getting the little nudges, the little conversations, the little things, and the girlfriends that came through and just said the right things at the right time. And I got to the point where I had to knock over that first domino, which was ending that relationship. And then my life just went amazing. Yeah, Jen can attest to it. And it happened very, very quickly. But I felt that pain, and I lived that pain, and I went through it. And I know that that's going to help me helping women down the road. But there's that. And then the other thing I wanted to add to Jen's point is self-love and self-honoring. And I really got this at a women's retreat I went to. I really, really felt this, that like how I choose to show up and who I am is mine, and how other people respond is on them. It is not my responsibility to take care of how everyone else responds. And how I choose to respond to them, that's on me. So for Jen, she's in herself, she's in her body, she's delivering her message that she felt was more fucking important than putting makeup on, having her hair done, getting set up, looking all that. Her message and her passion for what she wanted to share in that moment was more important than what she looked like. And I'm sure that came through in her video. I have no doubt, because Jen's a very passionate person. So for her to be standing in who she was and putting herself out there, which we all know is so super easy, right? And then so for that person to respond the way that she did, that was a reflection of her, the woman. And how Jen decided to respond or not respond or whatever is a reflection of Jen. And so that is something that I'm really, really sinking my teeth into, is that if I am showing up in my true power, if I'm honoring myself, if I'm loving myself, if I'm speaking from a place of honesty and truth in my heart, then that is the power. Because if I'm going out and I'm putting out videos and I'm worried about what people are going to think, and don't you think that I don't, because I do, but I'm still putting it out there, you know. But at the end of the day, it's like, this is how I show up, this is who I am, and how other people respond is on them, and then how I choose to respond is on me. And that was a really, really, truly liberating moment for me, and I'm really happy to have shared that.
Yeah, whenever you said that, I had that liberating feeling come through my solar plexus where it was just like feeling that it feels light, it feels good to be able to go. I don't really care what other people think, and truly not care what other people think, and just honor the self. And it's not selfish. Like, we've been taught that it's selfish. It's not selfish. It's actually quite the opposite. Whenever you're on a plane, they say put your oxygen mask on first and then help the person next to you if they need help. There's a reason for that. So we have to be honoring of ourselves first, and then someone else. And when we can do that, when we come to a place of love and have compassion and surrender and all of these things that we're talking about, then we're able to honor another person no matter what. So, like, I'm not going to criticize or even come back and combatively to this person that sent this email. I just honor and recognize, okay, she's in her space and that's for her. And I recognize that, and I'm not taking on the energy. I'm just releasing the energy and letting it be either out there or in her stuff. Like, she's got stuff to work on, and that's okay. I'm working on my stuff. I'm focused on me, taking care of my stuff, taking care of my own growth. And then one of the things that I wanted to go back to was Jess was talking about the ending of her last relationship and how it was a domino effect, and she needed to knock down the first domino. And so, Jess and I witnessed a lot of this relationship because, she and I are confidants in our relationship, as women are. We need that support, that tribe, and so Jess and I are that tribe for each other. And so I knew what was going on in it, and I could relate to some aspect, to some degree, of what she was experiencing. But here's the turning point, or here's the thing that I see that's different, is that when Jess was like, I'm done with this, I've learned the lesson, I'm done, I'm going to knock over the domino, she walked away from it fully. She walked away from it fully present in her own self, and she was able to leave it behind, and her life literally transformed like that. And like, things began to go really, really fast for her, and things began to happen for her. They came in for her. Like, she was just fully supported in that journey and in that process. But here's the mistake that I see so many people make, is that they go, okay, I shouldn't be in this anymore. But then they leave tentacles, and they're trying to like stay like one foot in and the rest of them out. And they're trying to hang on to like some piece of this. And by doing that, you're ruining your opportunity to really catapult your life forward, because you're not giving up or giving and releasing and surrendering that which you need to surrender in order to move your life forward. And so the rewards are there when you have the faith. That takes faith and courage to be able to cut something off. You've been with someone for an extended period of time. You know that you love this person. You just know that it's not the right fit. To be able to leave that, and to leave it and like just cut it off and go, this isn't for me. This isn't right. And move on. That's right. That's tremendous courage. That's tremendous faith. To like stay one foot in and like keep your tentacles in there, and like, I'm uncertain, I'm not sure if I let it go, like what's gonna happen, and like stirring all this stuff up, that's like keeping your spirit stirred up. You can't move past that. You can't step into wholeness. You can't step into who you really are, because your energy is caught up in this minutia of this darkness of this cloud. And so whenever I left my husband a few years ago, it was the same thing for me. I just left. I was just like cut off. I even moved out of town. I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to allow myself to be caught up in that. And so even when he was trying to create havoc in our divorce process, I was just like, all right, buddy, I mean, if this is what you want to do, go for it. But I'm not going to act in kind. I'm not going to be divisive. I'm not going to be that. I'm just going to be like this, and surrender and allow God to take care of it. And God is taking care of it. And even 4 years later, God is still taking care of it. And it's just a really amazing process. And when you can step into that, it's so empowering for you.
I agree. Thanks, Jenn. And there were a few breaking points, you know, but I was committed, and so was he. But it did reach a point where I finally was like, you know what? Why do we keep fighting to be people other than who we are? And you know, and we both deserve people who love and accept us for who we are, and can love us, you know, no matter what. And you know, just because you're good people doesn't mean you're meant to be. You know, um, but thank you, Jenn. Yeah, I'm so grateful for my sisterhood, the ladies and men. Really helped shine a light. So I was thinking, Jenn, you know, because we have done so much development on our self-love. Didn't know if you had a practice or two that you'd like to share that's been helpful for you in your journey and process.
I think mirror work is probably the biggest work that I did around this. Mirror work is basically sitting in the mirror and telling yourself you love yourself. Like, the first time I ever did mirror work, it was a few years ago, and I was going through a dark period, and this was when, you know, and it was a process for me to get to this place. I had to hit rock bottom to get there, but the mirror work started with me sitting in front of the mirror for like 3 hours. And at first I was like, I love you, I love you, I love you. And it was like that, you know, it's just like emotionless. It was just sitting there, like doing this thing that I thought I should do in order to get somewhere. And that was a practice that I had to put into my life. It was always get to give to get, you know, it was never just like surrendered, you know? So I was sitting there and I was doing this, and I broke through at a certain point. I'm not sure at what point or how long into it was, but I do know I was sitting there for at least 3 hours. And you know, whenever you break through, then you know you break through because you could touch your heart and you begin to cry. You have emotion, all of that. So the process is going from the mental to the heart. The heart is where everything speaks. It speaks from you know, your essence speaks from this place. But so many of us are disconnected, and we're not open in this place. It's very closed down. It's very guarded, and all of this. And so it takes to do the it for to receive love. And so the mirror work's been the most important. And even like I continue doing mirror work over the years, and then like recently when I had faced my darkest night of the soul, and I had faced my biggest fears, and I had to like drum up the courage to get through them instead of like falling down and catering to them. I was like, I've got to break through this. This is not my destiny to give up. My destiny is to thrive. It is to inspire people and to build a legacy. And so for me, getting past that, I had to, again, at the darkest hour, look in the mirror and say, I love you, I love you, I love you. Like even in your darkest hour, even though you're in this place, I still love you. I still accept you totally and unconditionally. And it was that work that got me past that, and got me through that. And then just saying the affirmations over and over again when I'm sitting on my couch and I'm thinking about the things going on in my life that normally I would have judged in myself, and going, no, I'm not going to judge that. I'm a badass. I'm pretty amazing, pretty awesome. You know, that's the work right there. That.
So super powerful. I love that exercise, and I actually feel like I should do a little refresher myself. Just tap in and touch in. The another self-love exercise that I really enjoy, and it's not, I guess, just about self-love, but even if you sit with a few of your closest girlfriends and just share the things that you admire about each other, and what you love about each other. There's something so beautiful about doing that, because it comes from a place of, there's nothing for them to get. They're not trying to sleep with you. I mean, maybe they are, but probably not. So to receive and drink in like these beautiful compliments about ourselves, I found that to be very nourishing, for me. And the other thing is doing breath work. So breathing. So many times we're just breathing just to hear, but you can actually like really access and really breathe down all the way down to your vagina and all the way up. There's possibilities of having that awareness of the breath. And the more that we take in those breaths in and out of our mouths, and there's a whole process that I can lead people at another time, but just really focusing on the breath and in the heart, breathing into the heart and letting that energy just flow out to all the parts and places within us, and just taking 10 minutes to do that can be really, really resourceful and beautiful. And the other exercise I love is what would make me feel good right now, and then honoring that. So setting a timer or reminder for yourself throughout the day to do that, that was a really great key for me, especially when I was so used to attending to my clients, my relationships, my friendships, everybody, the dog, like, taking care of everybody else but me. And so to take that time and say, okay, what would make me feel good right now? And whatever it was, I honored it and I did it. And that was such a game changer for me, because then I got used to knowing that I could take care of myself. I could provide for myself, my own needs, and that my needs were valid, and that I felt good afterwards. So those are the two that I'd like to share.
Awesome. Thank you. Those are both great.
Yeah, I feel complete. How about you?
Yes, we are complete on this episode, and we want to thank you for tuning in. And if you like this episode, please like it. Please share it with any of your tribe that you think would benefit from the message that we are here to share, and please subscribe to our channel. That helps us. We are going to be producing a week, so you stay tuned for more episodes from Sexy Mystics.
Yes, the Sexy Mystics, and you are certainly welcome. We'd love to hear from you. Please write us at thesexymystics@gmail.com. And just letting you know that we are not doctors, but we are people who are committed to our paths and our journeys, and committed to helping you on yours as well. So we wish you all blessings, love, epic joy, radical honesty, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Awesome.
Bye.